सेवक जन के सेवा सेवक, सेवक जन के सेवा सेवक, प्रेमी जनों के प्रेम प्रेमक, प्रेमी जनों के प्रेम प्रेमक, दुखी जनों के वेदन भेद, दुखी जनों के वेदन भेद, योगी जनों के आनंद है, योगी जनों के आनंद है, हरि योगी जनों के आनंद है, योगी जनों के आनंद है, हे हरि सुंदर, हे हरि सुंदर, हे हरि सुंदर, हे हरि सुंदर, oh God beautiful, oh God beautiful, oh God beautiful, oh God beautiful.
Thank you, dear friends. What a wonderful devotional atmosphere you have created through this beautiful chanting. Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. A very good morning to all of you. This is our annual spiritual fair. It's a tradition that started in 2016. A fair is a fun place to be, and we thought, why not have a spiritual fair? And for the last over 50 years, Ananda Sangha has been sharing the teachings of Paramhans Yogananda. It is a spiritual movement founded by Swami Kriyanandaji, who is a direct disciple of Paramhans Yogananda. Ananda came to Pune in 2008, and since then we have had teaching. We have a teaching center, and in the last year, in the pandemic, we also began meditation groups in different parts of the city, in the east, in the west, and in the central part of Pune. So welcome once again to this fair. You will see there are stalls that are that display a spectrum of the application of Yoganandaji's teachings. We follow the path of Kriya Yoga, but how can we apply Kriya Yoga practically in every aspect of daily life, business, marriage, relationships, education? That is what you will find out there in the stalls and through the classes, various classes today you will see throughout the day. So please relax, have fun, enjoy the day, and we hope you can stay with us throughout this day. So we'll start the event with our first class. We have two classes parallelly. So this is one of the classes. This is the main auditorium. And on the first floor, classroom 4, we have a second class running. So the classroom 4 will host the topic Pranayama to overcome harmful emotions. We go through difficult emotions, I think almost on an everyday basis, stress, negativity, challenges that we are finding hard to overcome. So we have with us a very experienced teacher in Lata Gupta, who will take charge of this class on the first floor. So please feel free to join any of these classes. In this auditorium, we will have a class on health, and it will talk about Paramhans Yoganandaji's 10-point guide for perfect health. So you are welcome to join either of these classes. We have a buffet of offerings for you, so feel free to choose. So the class will begin right now, and I will now invite Harsh to set the stage for the session in this class, in this room. Thank you.
Thank you, Blazy. Good morning, one and all, in person and online. For this main hall auditorium, we have class on Paramhans Yogananda's 10-point guide for perfect health. And for this, I am delighted to welcome Dr. Amar Agarwal. Dr. Amar Agarwal has been with Ananda Sangha from 2007, and he is an MD in internal medicine uh, with 2 decades of clinical experience. He is also currently practicing at SKN Medical College, Pune. Uh, he is, along with being a medical practitioner, he is a certified yoga teacher, meditation teacher, a teacher of healing, and has published various papers in and researches in various journals. He is one of those persons who has very well combined the medicine with the inner knowledge of yoga. So with now, I invite Dr. Amar Agarwal to share his teachings on this perfect health.
Good morning, dear friends. Thank you, Harsh, for that kind introduction. And before we begin with, let us start with a small invocation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Let's sit in silence for just 1 minute, friends, before we begin. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. A very good morning to you all once again. It's always a joy to be in such programs. And when I was given this topic and I was looking at the theme, a 10-point guide from Yogananda's health teachings, I thought, there can be a week-long retreat on the subject. And how am I going to pack these 10 points in just 30 minutes? But still we can. And then we wanted it to be experiential also. So I'll do my best to offer these teachings in these next 30 minutes. Before I begin, in fact, I would like to share that when I started my journey almost 3 decades ago, I was really fascinated to know that what is this life all about? Can we understand this life in greater depth? And that is what attracted me to medical science when I joined a medical college. And it has been a very interesting journey so far because I had to learn, I have got this opportunity to learn the principles behind the life itself and how the human body functions. It has been a very fascinating journey, and I'm grateful for this opportunity that God gave me. But just when I was advancing, I slowly started finding the limitation of it also, because very soon I understood that this, whatever we are studying, is actually just the surface. It has to be something deeper, which we are missing. Maybe there is something more to it. Maybe we are just scratching the surface. Maybe we are just understanding life only from the physico-chemical aspects. Very interestingly, Yogananda's guru, as you see his picture here, second from the right, Swami Shri Yukteswar, he actually joined medical college more than 100 years ago. He was also interested in medical sciences, but he left the medical college in just after 6 months. And he said, because probably he said it is too mechanical and they are trying to just, speak only on the physical terms. But here I was hanging around, or I'm still hanging around, you may say, for those years. And in those years, when I came across the teachings of Yogananda almost 15 years ago, those limitations which I was facing in the modern medicine, they started I was able to transcend those limitations, and slowly and gradually it started making sense. And suddenly, and it came as an inspiration that, okay, why don't you try to integrate, and why don't you make an effort to probably bring these teachings and try to make it integrate them with the conventional medical science and see how does it help. So I welcome Karthikeyan ji and Nayaswami Dhyana. So as I was sharing with you, friends, that this happened slowly. This started making sense in 2005 when I came across, first of all, this beautiful book, Autobiography of a Yogi. And thereafter, it became like one step at a time, going into the deeper aspects of the teachings. And before that, even similar in even small things like what is life, or for that matter, what is death? What happens to, I was seeing, you may say, death from close quarters. I was working in an intensive care unit where I was seeing death almost every other day. And I used to wonder what happens to these people who are just now, you are talking to you, and after a few moments, they are no more. Where are they going? And since I was wondering, I had no clue. But then Yogananda's teachings helped me to understand this whole concept of life and death in better terms. And very recently, I just was reading this book, which is written by a modern psychiatrist in America. His name is David Hawkins. And although he passed away in 2012, he said a very interesting thing. Although it is, I still feel that the teachings that we are trying to, bring into the medical science will take at least 100 more years probably to come to the mainstream medicine. But he said very interesting, as he was speaking in one of the conferences in California, he said, what I have observed, that the outcome of the patients, as far as healing is concerned, is not dependent on what physical measures we are taking, but is dependent on the consciousness of the physician. It was very interesting that he could, and he said, although I have observed this, but I cannot put it into a paper, or I cannot put it into words, because the linear thinking of the modern science will not understand it. A spiritually inclined person maybe will understand it, but a linear model which we are practicing will be at a loss to understand this concept. He even gave an example. He was a psychiatrist. He was treating patients with schizophrenia or depression and so many other conditions. He said, I have observed that even the drugs that we use to treat the patients, the the side effects, not all, if let us say there are two group of patients having similar illness, being treated with similar medications by two different doctors, the side effects of the medicines, he said, are less, are even sometimes absent if the consciousness of the physician is higher. Now, this is very interesting. You can actually read this in this book called Map of Consciousness, written by David Hawkins. When I read this, I said, isn't it the same thing which Yogananda was saying 100 years ago, that everything is consciousness, and everything, if we see from that angle, if we practice, if we understand, if a consciousness of a physician can have so much influence on us, imagine what the consciousness of the individual itself can do for him or her. Because if the consciousness is right, then health can happen almost instantaneously, because health is like a natural state. In fact, it is very difficult to define health. It is difficult to define a disease. If you see modern medicine textbooks, they are nothing but a catalog of illnesses. They are like hundreds of thousands of illnesses, because it is easy to classify a disease. But how do you define health? Even WHO gives us a definition that, okay, yes, it's a feeling of well-being. It's a complete sense of well-being, physically, mentally, emotionally, and socially. But then Yogananda defined that what is health? If somebody asks you this question, are you healthy? Then what comes to your mind? You may probably scratch your head and feel that, okay, I'm not in the hospital, or I'm not suffering from the disease. And last time when I got my blood tests done, everything was normal. But do you really need any certificate from a doctor to feel healthy or to say that you are healthy? Isn't health a feeling itself? And Yogananda actually mentioned in one of the books, you will find this book in one of our stalls, How to Achieve Glowing Health and Vitality. He said, health is something when you wake up in the morning and you feel enthusiasm, you feel joy to go to your work or do service or seva of any kind. And you feel the body as a luxury, he said, just like a bird feels when it is shooting in the air, and what a child feels when he's bubbling with joy. As you see a child's eyes sparkling with light and enthusiasm, that is health. A child doesn't need any certificate. In fact, there's a good friend of a very senior physician. I sometimes listen to his talks. He said, today's, unfortunately, modern medicine has become a kind of industry where people go for health checkups and they feel that, okay, they need a kind of proof or an evidence for themselves just to feel that they are healthy. Isn't it absurd? But then if health is a feeling, and if health is coming from that state of consciousness, which we are, then how can we feel it every time? Then how, or what are the reasons why we are not able to, let's say, feel that feeling of well-being, if that is our true state? That is what we are going to understand today. So before we go on, let us understand this concept that, and Swami and Yogananda actually started his journey from this organization called Self-Realization Fellowship, because his mission when he went to the West was to make us understand who we are, what is our true reality. And that is why he coined the term self-realization. Who are we? So what do we understand with this term? In fact, it's very easy to understand that whatever we are seeing around ourselves, whatever we see, we call it an object. Let us say, I'm seeing this microphone, this is an object, or I see this lamp, it's an object. So anything which is an object is something outside me. Isn't that true? It cannot be you because it is something outside you. So if you see some object outside you, and certainly you are different from that object. If you see your hand, you can't be your hand for the same reason, because hand is something outside you. So that is how you're not your hand. So let us do this exercise because we want to make it experiential. So let us sit with a straight spine and let us understand this concept slightly better. That if you close your eyes and you understand that, okay, I was seeing all these impressions which were coming to me from outside, but they are all objects which I am experiencing. And for any experience, there are two things happening. One is my awareness, and the other is that object. So object plus awareness gives me an experience. And now you can bring this concept a little closer, just like I gave you the example of hand. For the same reason, my hand, my feet, my body is also an object. That is not me. And for the same reason, I am not the body. This body is also an object which I am experiencing. This is something outside me. I'm not this body. And let's go one step further behind. When I am observing my own mind, which is nothing but a flow of thoughts, and I say I'm observing these thoughts, and these thoughts are also an object. They are not me. How can that be? Because I am different from the object. I am an observer. So the body and thoughts and body and mind, they are outside myself. They are outside me, and I am not that. I am nothing but a pure observer, or I am a witness of these two entities. I am nothing but pure consciousness. So even a little bit of creating a distance between these two things, you can understand. You can open your eyes now. You understand that I am not this body. I am not this mind. I'm something which is observing the body and mind. Now we understand, okay, if this is the true reality, if I am only consciousness, which modern medicine has started discovering very recently, or in psychiatry at least, or in neurosciences. I read a book some time back, How God Changes Your Brain, where they were very much interested in understanding what happens to a person when he practices some of these yoga techniques. I'm going to talk about the tools now, because if I have to remain, what is health? Health is nothing, but if I remain in my true state, if I remain in my natural state, health is my natural state. But if I go away from the source, then this health, I'm going to lose to that degree. It is something like, if I'm closer to the light, I will always, the light is always going, there can never be darkness if I remain closer to the light. And the farther I go from the light, to that degree, you can say the darkness is going to envelop me. And same way we can say the health and disease. If we say health is something like light, which is my true nature, my job should be to remain close to the source as much as possible. If I go farther from the source, then you can say I will lose health to that degree. And what is that? That is why if you see the term disease, if you break it up, it becomes dis-ease, which is to say that to that degree, I am not at ease with myself. If we are at ease with ourselves, we are healthy. So the tools that Yogananda gave are actually to help us to remain connected with the source. Because Yogananda said that this is your true reality. If you understand who you are, you are healthy, and you understand that true health has nothing to do with your body and mind. In fact, there is a story I want to share with you. And we know that Ramakrishna was having throat cancer. And at one time, Ramakrishna, there was a devotee who came to Ramakrishna, and he said, sir, this must be very painful for you. And he said, yes, it is. And for some time, this devotee was sitting beside Ramakrishna. And after some time, he said, sir, but I fail to understand why I'm feeling so blissful in your presence, that although it is painful for you, but I don't know why I'm feeling the waves of bliss coming from you. And if these waves of bliss are coming from you, you must also be feeling the same. Otherwise, how would I feel this bliss? And then Ramakrishna started smiling. He said, naughty boy, you have found my secret, which is to say that, yes, on body level, he was suffering from a disease, but he was absolutely healthy in his true self, because he was feeling the same sensation. He was feeling the true health within himself. Swami Kriyananda, who was a direct disciple of Yogananda, I happened to be his physician also at many moments. And when I saw his record of medical history, he was suffering from so many problems. It was very surprising for doctors to see that how this man is walking. But even after so many medical challenges, sometimes surgeries and life-threatening problems, whenever doctors used to meet him, when I personally met him, he was always in bliss, he was always in joy. Does that mean that yes, his body was suffering on one level, but he was in absolute perfect health? So in that way, let us come down to the tools that how can we remain in our true sense of health, even when our body might be suffering from some challenges, even when your blood report says that, oh, yes, you have this problem, but that doesn't define you, because that is not who you are. So how do we do that? There is only one key here. As Yogananda said, that if it is a restless mind is the greatest barrier for us to experience that true reality. So how do we do that? The first key that Yogananda has given us is to understand that these thoughts which are there in our mind are not individual, but they are universal. So when sometimes we say, oh, these thoughts are so tormenting me, or sometimes even a physical illness, if you see, always comes through the mind. Let us say we talk of pain. How does a painkiller work? A painkiller doesn't, it just blocks the pathway from which those physical sensations are reaching the brain. So in a way, we are trying to disconnect the physical sensations reaching the brain, and then we understand, then the pain, we don't experience the pain. Even a physical pain, if you see, cannot reach us without a mind. Otherwise, body is inert. So how even a painkiller works, that even in the same way, anesthetic agent, if you see, what does an anesthetic agent do? It blocks the connection between the mind and the body. So that is why when there is no mind, a surgeon can operate on the body, because that connection is not there. So what Yogananda gave through his teachings are the tools to how to do this disconnection consciously. How can we do that? And it is not easy to pack everything in just 15 minutes, but I will give you the essence of that. In fact, Yogananda at one time, he used to talk to God as many of the saints used to do, talking just like we are talking with one another. He used to say that, why, God, you made this world? There is so much of suffering. I fail to understand that what is the reason to create it. And then God gave him an answer that what happens in the sleep, he said, do you remember your body? Because in every night, if you see, we experience this, that in deep sleep, we forget the body, we forget the mind, we forget who we are, we forget the name and the personality. And isn't the sleep refreshing? When we wake up in the morning, we feel refreshed. Now, if you see, modern physiology or medicine has no answer for that. I have studied medicine and physiology. They are still at loss to understand what happens in the sleep. But Yogananda gave an answer. He said, because we retire into the self, and self rejuvenates us. Now, this process, because it is happening subconsciously, we are not able to remember. But if we do it consciously, then you will remember it. So that is why meditation is nothing, but it is like a conscious sleep. So you are going into the same peace as we go into deep sleep, but we do it consciously. So you remember what is happening. So let us do one more thing here. And this time we are going to practice a technique where that how we can go beyond the thoughts. So one technique is just to be an observer, just to witness the thoughts, let them pass through, because Yogananda did say that thoughts are not individual. Your mind is not creating them, but your brain is picking them like radio signals, just like a radio is picking up the waves and you tune into a channel. So that radio signal picks it up. So how do we do that? Another key that Yogananda gave was that thoughts always follow the feeling. So if there are too many thoughts going into the mind, this is a very beautiful key. Almost it works instantaneously. That check your feeling. If you have pure feeling, if you have feeling of love for everybody, what happens to your thoughts? Let us practice it. So let us sit again with a straight spine. We have understood that we are not this body. We are not these thoughts. And just feel. Now bring your attention to the heart and just visualize some someone you love, could be your partner, it could be your friend, your children, someone you who is very dear to you, and offer your heart's love. Visualize that person with closed eyes and just offer and share your heart's love to that person. And slowly share this feeling now. Let it expand. Let it expand this feeling to involve some of your friends and relatives. Allow it to expand like an unconditional love. Feel that it is your heart's love that is going in all the directions. See and visualize it as going as a light. Far and wide, distance here does not matter. Feel them receiving your heart's love as if they are also feeling the same upliftment as you are feeling in this moment. Continue to practice this for a few more moments. And just make a note of what is happening to your thoughts in this moment. Maybe you will find that because you have a deep feeling of love flowing through your heart, your thoughts have naturally calmed down. Your mind is not as restless as it was earlier. And suddenly you feel yourself in the present moment, closer to the source, closer to your true nature of who you really are.